Bear down, Chicago Bears. If you are a fan of the Chicago Bears, one thing and one thing only, two things and two things, three things, four, maybe five, seven, I don't know. We're going to count a lot of them. But the number one thing, rushing. When you think of the Chicago Bears, you think of sweetness. You think of Walter Payton. You think of Gale Sayers. You think of Matt Forte. You don't really think about the quarterbacks. You don't. The only other thing that you think about is the monsters of the Midway. So strong defense and a rushing game that is second to none. That's what you think of when you think of the Chicago Bears. That's what the fans kind of expect. Now, Caleb Williams being brought into the fold has changed slightly the dynamic and the expectations of what the offense is going to look like going into the 2024 season. We've been looking for that passing guy. We've been looking for that man who can take over this offense and start to run it and create that passing game. But that's not the Chicago Bears. That's never been the Chicago Bears. Maybe you could say at some point Jay Cutler it kind of made it a passing offense or more passing oriented offense, but it's never really been on the par of other teams. And it's always kind of lagged behind. Well, according to a report coming out from Sports Mockery, that's probably going to continue because it is looking like somebody has started to reveal the secret sauce of the Bears offense, and that you might see Shane Waldron, who is largely a passing guy, start to embrace the running game. And there was a very specific reason, and that reason is Ryan Bates. So the question now would be, do we have the makings of a number one rushing attack for the next consecutive year? And I say next consecutive year because I don't remember whether we were the number one rushing offense in 2022. I know that we were number one in 2023, but 2024 looking to be that way again. So DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift is going to benefit tremendously from this big move. And the idea behind the Chicago Bears is that they want to, quote unquote, pound the rock. They want to push, and they want to use what they're good at. And what they're good at is moving people off of the ball. And how do we know that? Well, the answer is Ryan Bates. It was a surprise when the Chicago Bears sent a fifth-round pick to Buffalo for Ryan Bates. Everybody remembered how the team tried to sign him as a restricted free agent in 2022, and that didn't pan out. 2 years later, Ryan Poles smelled an opportunity to get somebody he had a high opinion of, so the trade was made. People weren't sure what Bates' role in Chicago would be. He'd spent the majority of his career as a guard. The Bears also have two spots solidified with Tevin Jenkins and Nate Davis, so it seemed unlikely that they would trade a fifth rounder for a backup guard. That was when word filtered out that they plan on shifting him to center. He does have some experience there from his time in Buffalo, but not a lot. It was hard to understand why the team was doing this rather than seeking out somebody with a longer track record of the position. Widely respected tape analyst Brett Coleman of the Film Room provided an answer on 670 The Score. It starts with the scheme Chicago will run under new offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. A lot of inside zone. Boy, a lot of inside zone. They're going to pound the rock pretty consistently. You're going to see a lot of what's called split zone, where tight ends going to be off and they come across the backside of the run scheme and they kick out the backside edge player to create that cutback lane. That's going to turn into some really fun RPO looks, some really fun play action looks. I'd be willing to bet that Caleb's going to be under center a lot more than he used to be at USC. Inside zone is a common staple for modern offenses. It's basically meant to generate movement between the tackles. For that to work, you need a center who can move defensive linemen off their spots and be athletic enough to reach the second level. And Bates demonstrated this in Buffalo. He's got the necessary traits for this offense. Nobody will tab him as the biggest and most athletic guy on the field, but he has a huge amount of upper body strength and lower body explosion that drives defenders off the ball, and he doesn't struggle to move in space. This allows him to pick off linebackers and defensive backs at the second level. and they were enamored with this idea. And Shane Waldron is quickly integrating this into this offense. So he must be a good fit for the run scheme. Lucas Patrick could never fit into the inside zone system. Ryan Bates, however, is perfectly tailored for that. He may not be their long-term answer at the position, but he should be able to help everybody function at a very high level. So what we're looking at is, I don't know. Do you think DeAndre Swift is going to be the new beast mode? Do you think that we're really starting to witness an opportunity here where DeAndre Swift becomes that guy? The guy that we talk about when you don't say his name out loud. You don't say his name out loud and you don't compare DeAndre Swift to him. But you look around and you say, well, he's kind of like Matt Forte. He catches the ball, he blocks well, he runs the ball pretty good. Could this be the next big running back in Chicago? He signed to an 3-year, $24 million contract, making $8 million a year. And this really seems like an exciting moment here, especially when you bring in that RPO and a talent like Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams struggled a little bit in practice. Now, when we talked on Friday, and I hope, by the way, that everybody had a great Memorial Day. I hope you had just a tremendous time with your family, and I hope you remembered all that served during that period of time. And here's the thing: I think that if we get off really well to start the season, then we're going to look back at this moment and we're going to say, "Wow, Caleb Williams struggled in practice. I wonder why he struggled in practice." Well, maybe, just maybe, it's because, like I keep telling you, this defense is going to be a lot better. And look, we're just going through the motions right now. We're just going through the motion. We're going to talk about some of the players, or one of the players on defense right now that is shocking Matt Eberflus a little bit later on. It is possible that this team is just real tough. It's going to be real tough. Dobbsy says, if we don't trade Khalil Herbert, then I'd say no on Swift being a bell cow back. More likely a committee system. So I don't think that I think that they're going to want. I don't see any reason to keep Khalil Herbert on the roster, and I like him as a player, and it would be my preference, or would have been my preference, that we stuck with him going into this season and not spend $8 million on DeAndre Swift. However, in analyzing the position, Khalil Herbert does not offer any of the upside that DeAndre Swift does in terms of blocking and pass catching ability. And he is as good a runner as he's as good as a runner, arguably, as DeAndre Swift. And that's not even to mention the rise of Roschon Johnson, who could supplant Khalil Herbert as the number one backup. He could be the number two running back on this offense, not because he's a better runner, but because he's a better pass catcher and a better pass protection blocker. There's a really interesting sort of dynamic playing out here in which Khalil Herbert just suddenly doesn't fit into the new offensive scheme, or at least I don't think at this point he fits into that offensive scheme. So it would seem like a good move. And in fact, we're going to talk about a trade that the Bears and the Commanders have been linked with that might even include Khalil Herbert. So there's stuff, I think, happening in the background to get the players onto the right teams that they need to be on, et cetera, et cetera. I do think that the Bears are going to move on from Khalil Herbert. It would be unlikely, in my opinion. And by the way, if I'm Khalil Herbert, I would be like, get me out of here. Like, I don't want to be somebody's backup again. I did a great job for you guys last year, even with Deonta Foreman here. I did a great job even with Roschon Johnson here. I don't deserve to be a backup to anybody at this point. I deserve to be a featured back on any kind of offense. And if there is an offense out there that would like to have a guy like Khalil Herbert as their guy, then, make that move. Bring in some depth and talent on the defensive line as an exchange for that. I mean, that seems to be the move, right? So we'll see what happens, but I get the sense here that this is going to be DeAndre. This is going to be the DeAndre Swift season. That he's going to have a massive season. Trade that we were talking about is the Bears and the Commanders are linked in a massive trade proposal that could generate a big return for both teams. and that is two-time Pro Bowler Jonathan Allen. The Washington Commanders are not outwardly interested in a Jonathan Allen trade, but that could change by June 1st. While the star defensive tackle is still one of the better players on the team, the former first-round pick and two-time Pro Bowler might not fit into the Washington timeline. Now entering his age 29 season, age might catch up to Allen before the rebuilding Commanders are ready to compete. As of this posting, Jonathan Allen carries a 21.4 million cap hit that will only free up 9.4 million in trade. However, if Washington deals him after June 1st, they can clear up 15 million off the books. And the Chicago Bears could potentially give up a second-round pick and Khalil Herbert for this Pro Bowler. After failing to get results with subpar talent over the past 2 seasons, Eberflus will show what he can do with a winning caliber roster, and Jonathan Allen looks to fit into this. Eberflus is a defensive-minded head coach, and he previously spoke at length about the importance of a proper 3 technique in his defense. Right now, he doesn't have one of those. We're hoping that Gervon Dexter is that guy, but we don't know. We don't know. And Demond is, in fact, there are 3 people, but you can't have 4 running backs. It doesn't make any sense. The problem with this is I agree with you. And if it were unlimited and we didn't have a 53-man roster, sure, I agree. However, one of the best special teams players and backup at running back is Travis Homer. And he is our best special teams player. And if that's the case, you don't get rid of this guy who plays inexpensively to hold on to DeAndre Swift and Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson and Travis Homer. You need 3 running backs, and now we have 4. So there is a problem in that position unless Khalil Herbert wants to play special teams, and I don't know how that fits. I don't know whether it fits for him. So just because we want him to be here doesn't mean that we can have him here. However, again, you move Khalil Herbert, you move a second-round pick, you pick up Jonathan Allen, and now you've got that 3 technique guy that Matt Eberflus has. And look, Gervon Dexter is looking the part right now in the early part of OTAs. He's lost some weight. He's added muscle to his frame. He's done a lot in a short period of time, enough that Matt Eberflus even commended him and called him out, saying this, which we'll get into in just a few moments. He is super excited about what he sees from Gervon Dexter. So could this trade happen? Is it likely to happen? I don't know that it's likely to happen, but I mean, we'll see. And Squeegee says that you have to pass the ball to be successful nowadays. Well, we're not going to not pass the ball. In fact, Mike Clay is going to share his rookie estimate for Roma Dunze. We're going to be passing the ball. There's going to be 3,500 passing yards or so. Are we going to be one of those 4,000-yard passing teams? Probably not. But there's going to be we're going for it. Anyway, Mike Clay, early projection for Roma Dunze has the rookie catching 60 passes for 804 yards and 6 touchdowns, third on the team behind DJ Moore with 77 catches, 1,000 yards, 1,047 yards receiving, and 7 touchdowns, and then Keenan Allen with 883 yards and 5 touchdowns. Even as the presumed wide receiver 3, 800 yards and 6 touchdowns would still be nice for a rookie. So, basically what we're saying here is without your tight ends in the mix, this guy is projecting 2,700 yards receiving for this trio of receivers. And that's not to include anybody coming out of the backfield or the tight ends, which are going to be good for another 400, 500, 600 yards. So that's 3,500 yards. And they're predicting that, look, they're basically predicting that we're going to have at least a 3,000 yard, 3,500 yard passer in the first year for Caleb Williams. And that we're going to maintain a run heavy team at the same time. And we know what it takes to win. We know that you're going to have a lot of you're going to have a lot of passing, and that's what Caleb Williams brings to you. That's the difference between Justin Fields and Caleb Williams. This guy is more suited to that passing game. Love Justin Fields, but he didn't fit with what they wanted to do going forward, and that was start to air the ball out, and Justin Fields hasn't shown that ability. Caleb Williams shows it in spades. Does that translate into the field? I like to think that it does, but I don't know. We really don't know what it's going to look like. So And Damon Rice says, so there is going to be a massive decrease in Komet stats. Look, here's the thing. Probably because the reason that the reason Cole Kmet had his stats is because Darnell Mooney couldn't get open and Tyler Scott was a rookie playing in a, yeah, I mean, when you're a kid playing in a man's game, and no disrespect to Tyler Scott, but all rookies are kids playing a man's game in that first season. They're just learning. And now that Tyler Scott gets a little bit better, he's going to be a better receiver. Keenan Allen is an elite level receiver. DJ Moore is an elite level receiver. Roma Dunze, he's a kid playing a man's game, but he's 6'4", 215 pounds. So he might be able to hold up pretty well. He might be tailor-made for the NFL. And that's not to say that Cole Kmet is not, but Cole Kmet's primary goal now in this new offense with the RPO is going to be blocking for the inside zone. Cole Kmet excels at that. So does Gerald Everett. These guys are made for this offense, and that creates a dynamic where you have the run option. And by the way, Cole Kmet's going to have some big games. He's going to have some big yards. This ball is going to get aired out. But the important part is we're going to be capable of running the ball very, very well. And look, guys, if you can't run the ball, you can't set up the passing game. And you can say, well, yeah, I mean, what about so and so who threw for 4,000 or 5,000 or whatever amount of yards? Well, each one of these teams has a decent running game because you can't just come back here and pick people apart. You have to be able to run the ball, and if you run the ball, then that creates a linebacker uh, who has to watch for the run. And look, when you're a good running team, then you have to be prepared for that run. We don't scare people on offense. And this year, we're going to scare people on offense, or at least that's what the playbook looks like. It looks like Caleb Williams is the part. It looks like Roma Dunze is the part. It looks like Braxton Jones a little bit better. It looks like Darnell Wright has another big upside in his season. Ryan Bates, again, we just talked about that as a guy who can move people off the ball. And he can pick up linebackers and defensive backs in the secondary. It looks like we've developed a stronger rushing team. We don't need to rush all the time. We just need to be stronger and be able to push people off the block. And if we can do that, then all of a sudden you free up a passing game because now you have to spy the running back. And if you have to spy the running back, you're taking a backer out of the passing game or adding him into the running back game, and that opens up some lanes for people to catch the ball. And when you start catching the ball, and they stop spying the defensive the running back, or they stop spying the quarterback, then guess what? Then you start running the ball, and then you get nice big runs. Like this team is set up for an incredible amount of success. This is the playbook that we've been looking for from the Chicago Bears all this time. 3,500 yards, 1,000-yard rusher, or committee that does 1,000 yards rushing. I just don't think the committee is going to be Khalil Herbert. By the way, I wish him the greatest of luck because again, if you go back to me 6 months ago, I was telling you guys Justin Fields, I would like to see him run it back. Khalil Herbert, I think, is a starting caliber running back. All the pieces that I think would have made this team good. I just think this team is better without them. And again, that's not to disrespect Justin Fields. I still think it's my opinion, and I'm in a minority here, but I still think he's going to have a successful and a great career as a quarterback in the NFL. I think that he has the talent to come back from being drafted in the wrong position. And Khalil Herbert, like again, I think that he's a great starting running back in the NFL. Average 4.6 yards per carry. I mean, you don't do that in the NFL unless you are a good talent. And he did that. Roshan Johnson averaged 4.3. So if you're looking at it from pure rushing ability, Khalil Herbert is my guy. And I was on Team Khalil to begin with, but this is a different team. This is a team that's going to air the ball out. This is a team that needs a little bit more pass protection. And look, Khalil Herbert, the playbook is out on Khalil Herbert. You can rush him, and he's going to whiff on blocks. He is not a good blocker. As a matter of fact, he is a liability in the blocking game in a way that DeAndre Swift is not, in the way that the Roshan Johnson also is not. Roshan Johnson, not nearly as good as DeAndre Swift, but here we are. So I think Khalil Herbert, again, by proxy, just has to go. So, but again, my opinion, and take it for what you will. Also, when we started this, when we started the idea of pounding the rock, this was considered a three-headed monster. And I mean, I still consider this to be at this point a three-headed monster. DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, and Roshan Johnson, in my eyes, are just a phenomenal backfield. And a couple of different people in the league have agreed with me. NFL insiders were saying that this is going to be one of the best running trios in the league if they get to the season. And even if you take Khalil Herbert out and you throw in Travis Homer again, because you have to have that guy on special teams, then, if that were to play out, then all of a sudden, here's what happened. In Pro Football Talks, Mike Florio had them rated as one of the top three backfields in the league heading into like 2 weeks ago. Then the Bears running back group is now being questioned. CBS Sports' Tyler Sullivan says the Bears backfield is about middle of the pack at best. Pro Football Focus rated the top 32 running backs and suggests that the Bears three-headed backfield monster is not going to scare anybody. And the CBS Sports article rates backfields according to tiers, and the Bears rate in tier 4, which doesn't sound especially bad, but there are 7 tiers. So they're also putting them as a middle of the pack. And by the way, I should say this is the number one rushing offense. The only difference between this offense was two differences. Deonta Foreman, which I think DeAndre Swift is at least as capable and adept as Deonta Foreman. Love the way Deonta Foreman runs, by the way. So I don't want to disrespect him in any way. I love the way that he runs. He ran with a passion and he ran like it mattered. And I like to see that out of a running back. But DeAndre Swift, also the same way. I've seen enough tape on DeAndre Swift to know this guy moves the ball, right? So I don't think that that's a step down. So I think that this is still an elite running offense. However, the difference here is there's no Justin Fields, and Justin Fields gives you 400 or 500 yards. Caleb Williams probably going to give us 100 or 200 yards. So there is a difference on this team, but I think that that difference really is that it's an upgrade. And I don't think that people are seeing that. I think that at best, they're looking at the team that's going to pass the ball successfully a lot more than they were before, and that's going to lead to less production out of the running backs. However, what we didn't know when they started doing this, by the way, in the OTAs, now we're looking at the OTAs and we're seeing, oh, wow, they're running RPOs and they're running this inside zone. And that's why they got Ryan Bates. So things have changed. And I don't think that people were paying attention to it, but they will very soon. So we'll see what happens. But the tiered approach is a little bit weird in the way that they saw it. And here's what Sullivan says. He says that the Bears in Minnesota were more involved in the musical chairs of free agency as they sought to improve their running attacks. In other words, they were merely shuffling the deck chairs without doing much to actually keep the ship afloat. Now, this is what he's saying, by the way, about the number one rushing offense. Does this guy have an extra chromosome? It's weird, right? They actually have the Bears running attack rated behind Seattle's after Shane Waldron left. Pro Football Focus Thomas Valentine has 3 NFC North starting running backs ranked higher than Swift. Aaron Jones, that would be fair. Jahmyr Gibbs and Josh Jacobs. And until Josh Jacobs slows down a little bit, he's been a really good player for Green Bay. So, DeAndre Swift is ranked only 19th in the league, while Herbert isn't ranked among the top 32. However, Valentine does give credit to Khalil Swift for his explosiveness, and there are some videos out here that we can see Swift. You see him over here putting in work. So, hopefully this all plays out. The big problem here, DeAndre Swift led all running backs in the percentage of his yards to come before contact, an indicator of how good the Eagles' offensive line is, but also of his burst. It's going to be the Bears' offensive line to elevate his play and give this group of low-rated backs an opportunity to maintain the Bears' lofty rushing rank in an offensive system not known for rushing. And there we have it. That's why they're not giving them as much credit, because they're looking at this as an offensive system not known for rushing. Here's the rub, though, and this is what I want to say. I think that Shane Waldron understands what he has. And I don't think that it's lost upon him that he has the number one rushing attack. I don't think that we've seen that out of Shane Waldron at this point because he hasn't had that kind of team. But we do have that kind of team right now. So I think that you're going to see a very good running offense continue to be very good while at the same time we start to build on the passing game. And look, it's the important part of this is Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams needs a few things in order for him to successfully grow. He needs pass protection and he needs a running game so that people can't just tee up on him. If your edge rushers are just rushing the edge on obvious passing plays, that opens up lanes, right? And this is where we get into the technicalities of whether this offense will be great and how it will work or not, in that on the obvious passing plays, you're going to bring you're going to pin your ears back and you're going to send your edge rushers, right? So it's going to be on Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones to hold that pocket, right? And we should know that. However, the important thing is when you don't know, when you're at 50-50, like on first down, and you don't know what the play is, if an edge rusher takes the lane, then you just go in between them and you make your plays on the inside with that inside zone passing or rushing game. So I think that Shane Waldron is adept enough at his job to understand that, something that Luke Getsy was clearly not. That he was clearly not. So we'll see what this looks like. So it's going to be the Bears offense to elevate, and we'll see how this plays out. And by the way, Crimson says, got to open lanes for Swift. He's not going to move any sort of and that is correct. However, the guy, when you come back and you start watching him coming out of backfields, even though you say that you don't see it, you actually can watch him and see him making defenders miss and dragging people along. And look, there's plenty of game tape out there, so you can disagree with me about it, but you can also go to YouTube and you can start watching and you can see that this guy does he drags the defenders along. He falls forward. He does he does what he needs to do to continue to move the ball forward. And I mean, sure, well, I mean, here is one example. Here he is, grab and dragging guys along. There we go. He just drug two guys 5 yards in this simple play. He gets the ball. If he hits the hole, he has downfield speed and he doesn't get slowed down and he drags these people along. So you might not like it, you might not think it, but I can go see the examples of it actually happening. And that's the point. When you have breakaway speed like he does, that allows you to move defenders. So this Bears defense or this Bears offense is going to be a little bit better than I think people are going to see. You're going to see it. And here is the reason the defense is going to be improved. Gervon Dexter, people are talking about Gervon Dexter and how he's put on more muscle, less fat, and he seems to be leaner, faster, and ready. Matt Eberflus says this: I noticed the body composition first. It was really good. He changed his body in the time he was off, so he's much leaner now and he's quicker. There's not much to assess in the trenches when guys are practicing in shorts, but Eberflus did say that Dexter's get off the snap was vastly improved. His quickness to react off the snap, or rather lack of quickness off the snap, was one of the bigger critiques of his game at this time last year. A big reason why is that Dexter was asked to read and react to the offense when he was in college, while the Bears simply want him to attack a single gap right away. That was one thing we had to work on, and then pad level, because he's such a big guy, a tall guy, and he's worked on those things, but his movement, his athletic ability is even better now because he really worked on his body. New Bears defensive coordinator Eric Washington hasn't seen Dexter work with pads on close, but he could pick up on improvements from studying the 2023 tapes, and he says just watching his footwork, some of those small but very, very important details with him, watching his stance, watching his pad level, are vastly improved, and he's growing in confidence as he practices. Washington also praised how Dexter is absorbing information at this point in the offseason and noted that he's making a jump from year one to year two. He's assertive. He believes that he belongs in the lineup, and he believes that he can be a major factor. The Bears will need Dexter to be a major factor because former starting technique Justin Jones left in free agency, and the Bears have yet to replace him. They added Byron Cowart in the offseason, but Cowart is not expected to put up starter snaps. That leaves Dexter to take over as the presumptive starter this season. And Byron Cowart, by the way, more likely going to be a sub at the end position. Um, he's capable of playing all positions. Dexter had a slow start to his rookie campaign, but noticeably improved as the season progressed. Accordingly, he enjoyed an uptick in playing time over the second half. Over the first 9 games, he averaged 23 snaps. That rose to 27 snaps over the last 8 games. His production increased too. He had no sacks, 9 tackles, and 3 quarterback hits from weeks 1 through 9. But through week 10, he had 2.5 sacks, 11 tackles, and 9 quarterback hits. So he went from no sacks, 9 tackles, and 3 hits to 2.5 sacks, 11 tackles, and 9 hits. That means that he was getting after it a lot better in the second half. And a lot of this has to do with Montez Sweat coming in and taking some pressure off, because if you command the double team like Montez Sweat would command a double team, then that allows you to get open if you are that 3 technique guy, right? So it looks like he took advantage of that and looked a lot better coming into the second half of the season. So hopefully with more playing time, he doesn't wear down. He's built for it. And God damn it, I love this kid. Like this guy is ready. And by the way, look how wild to me, guys, I can't help but laugh at this picture. By the way, like it is, he just looks wild and wilding out. He's got his gut sticking out. You know what I mean? Doesn't have a gut anymore. Like this guy has turned into a mass monster. So I am super excited. I hope you guys are too. Gervon Dexter, I think, is going to be one of the absolute gems going forward. And then finally, here's 3 reasons why Keenan Allen will not fall off with the Chicago Bears. And number 1 is because Keenan Allen brings an old man game to the Chicago Bears. One of the big reasons why Allen was able to succeed at his age is because of his style of play. He's not the biggest, fastest, or strongest. His 40-yard dash time is just 4.71. Allen has a refining trait, and it is his footwork. There will certainly they will certainly catch up to him at some point, but he should age a lot more gracefully because he can get open. Also, he has seen every defensive back in the NFL, and he knows their strengths and weaknesses. Allen wins by attacking weak spots and getting open. He may not be overwhelmingly dominant, but he will get open and he will catch footballs, and that's all you could ask for. And the best part is, if you can just if Caleb Williams has the anticipation needed for a guy like Keenan Allen to be successful, then Keenan Allen is going to absolutely show out this year. And he is also going to be in the slot in this Chicago Bears offense sometimes. For his career, Keenan Allen has run 45% of his routes from the slot. He ran 59% of his routes from the slot this past season and 65% the year prior to that. This is where he lives. This allows Rome Odunze to move to the outside. The good news is that he will probably line up more in the slot with the Bears than he did in the last 2 seasons. The Bears obviously have DJ Moore, who will play a little bit in slot. However, it was just 22% for his career and 22% last year. Rome Odunze can play the slot, but the best of his game is down on the sidelines, hauling in deep passes. So Odunze is best outside, as is Moore. We're going to see Keenan Allen win in the slot. When you look up the players who still put up 1,000 yards despite being 32, there's names like Hines Ward, Larry Fitzgerald, Anquan Bolden, Julian Edelman, and Adam Thielen. We're talking about players who were able to win from the slot, sit in the soft spots of the zone, and haul in passes to pick up first downs. This is exactly what the Bears will ask Keenan Allen to do, and it makes too much sense. He's going to be successful, and he's not going to be the top threat in this offense. DJ Moore is going to be the top receiver. Rome Odunze might even be the number 2 receiver before it's all said and done here, which means that Keenan Allen should quietly put up a monster sort of year. This is the reliable guy. And to get to somebody that said earlier, what about Cole Kmet? Well, Keenan Allen is going to be that guy on third down. Last season, it was Cole Kmet. This season, it's probably going to be Keenan Allen. And to be fair and to be honest, this is much better. Like Cole Kmet, we want to see him make plays. We want to see Gerald Everett make plays, but we want to see these 3 receivers be the very best that they can be. And it looks like the way this is lining up, that's exactly what we have on tap. We have Keenan Allen, the quote unquote old man of the team, if you will, is going to take these guys under his wing and give them an opportunity to learn from him, to grow from him. He's going to impart, maybe, hopefully, some of his knowledge on them. And look, if this is successful, if this is vastly successful, then Keenan Allen stays and we resign him for a few more years. It's going to cost a lot of money. I am against it, by the way. I will say this publicly. I am not for Keenan Allen being signed to a long-term contract because he's going to be on the downside and you can only do so much. He would have to take a pay cut. Here's the problem. The problem is he wouldn't take a pay cut in Los Angeles, and that's why he ended up here in Chicago. Okay, so I think he's here for the money, right? And I think that next year he's probably gone, and we're looking for Tyler Scott to step up, or we're looking to draft another receiver. That is my opinion. I don't have any proof or I don't have anything other than my opinion in that regard. I think that Keenan Allen is just basically here on a rental, if you will. I don't know that it's going to be a long term contract. Rome is the guy. DJ is the guy. And then, again, if Tyler Scott makes a leap, by the way, and this should be pointed out, if Tyler Scott looks way better this season than he did last season, Keenan Allen is a rental. The end. You know what I mean? Like that's the way that you have to look at this because it's too much money. You can't pay $20 million to all of your receivers. You know what I mean? So I think that this could be a very interesting season. And guys, I can't stress enough. I am super excited about the possibilities. I'm super excited about what could happen here. I hope you guys are too. This team, I am. Look, I'm going to say this. Last season, I was excited about this team. I was really excited about where this team was going. I felt it. Okay. Preseason, I told you guys that I thought that the team was going to be to start off the season. I didn't think they were going to be as bad as they were, by the way. Nobody was ready for that. But I thought that this team would get better and better and better as the season went on, and that we would be looking at a playoff worthy team by the end of the season. And we did. They went 5-3 in their last 8 games. If they had done that previously, then Green Bay wouldn't be in the playoffs. If they had performed at the same level through the entire season, then they wouldn't be there. But here's the thing. They're getting better and better and better because they're younger and younger and younger. Well, they're younger again this year. So it should, other than Keenan Allen, who's, 900 years old. But everybody else, very young. This is a very young team, and they're going to continue to improve and get better. So this is the season. I keep saying this, Philadelphia, the Philadelphia jump from a couple years ago where they just didn't look very good. Jalen Hurts finally got his shit together, and then they closed out the season strong, and then they went into the next season, and they were in the Super Bowl that year. Will the Bears make the Super Bowl? I don't know if the Bears are able to make the Super Bowl. It would be fantastic. It would be so interesting. It would be so amazing to see. I'm not going to be happy with a playoff run. Okay. I'm not going to be happy to just make the playoffs. I want to win a game in the playoffs. I want to win 2 games in the playoffs. I want to be legit. I want to be part of it. I don't know if the Bears are ready for that. I think that they are. I think the Bears are going to go 13-4. I think this is a team that's going to shock a lot of people because I think they're going to be a lot better than the sum of their parts. I think that individually, Caleb Williams is an upgrade, and I say that begrudgingly. I want you guys to know that. I say it begrudgingly, but Caleb Williams is an upgrade. I think DeAndre Swift is an upgrade to the offense. I think the age and the fact that the team is getting better because they're so young is an upgrade on the offense. Kevin Byers, regretfully, is an upgrade to Eddie Jackson, who he fell off. And we have to be honest, he fell off. Ryan Bates is an upgrade. Coleman Shelton is an upgrade to Lucas Patrick and Cody Whitehair. And look, Cody Whitehair, I think that guy was one of the greats for Chicago for a long period of time, or one of the goods, I should say. I shouldn't say one of the greats. He was one of the goods. He was here for a long time. He was a dedicated guy. He worked hard, even if he didn't have the talent. He put in work, and those kind of things matter. And I think that we've improved dramatically in a lot of different places. And I'm not even talking about the receivers at this point, other than calling Keenan Allen super old. You know what I mean? Like then you look at the receiving core, and you're like, oh my god. What just happened here? We went from Mercedes Lewis and Cole Kmet to Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. Then we went from DJ Moore, rookie Tyler Scott, and Darnell Mooney, who had his worst season so far and was not cut out for that Z position, clearly, to Roma Dunze, who is, again, arguably a generational draft talent, and then Keenan Allen, who we know is one of the elite possession receivers in the game. Like, this is a vastly different and vastly better team that ended up going 7-10, was clearly not ready, and I don't think that happens again. Fingers crossed that it doesn't happen again. Anyway, that's my time, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys agree with me. If you don't agree with me, just leave a comment down below. If you like this content, make sure you hit the like button and share this with as many people as you can. I need more subscribers. It certainly helps me out. In the meantime, again, you guys bear down